I will become the greatest trainer ever. I will become the greatest trainer ever. I will become the greatest trainer ever. I'll be the judge of that. People seem to like the Marnie video, so this time around I'll be doing a new run of Pokemon Shield as the main rival, Hop. Since we were the ones who crushed his dreams in the semifinals, I'm curious to see how he'll do if we didn't exist. Before we get started, here's a couple of rules that I followed in this run. I will catch and change Pokemon on my team according to my best guess of when and how Hop changes his in the game. I'll do my best to keep my team the same level as the closest Hop encounter. Unlike the Marnie run, where I threw whatever decent TM I could find in my team, I'll be keeping my movesets limited to those that Hop has. Which, as it turns out, meant I'll have to talk to a cafe guy a lot and make my team forget a bunch of moves. And on occasion I'll have to use some TR, since by the looks of it Hop did too. Something I noticed is that Hop's team was chronically underleveled, so the only way I could stay as true as possible to his team was to avoid battles as much as possible. So I'll only do trainer battles that the game forces you to do, no side routes and no wild battles. Finally, I won't use hold items or in-battle effect items. However, I will allow myself 1 HP healing item per battle. To start off the game, I picked Hoppip as my starter, since it literally has Hop's name in it. I caught a wild Wooloo and a little Rookidee. Something interesting I noticed right off the bat is that even though Hop had so many wild Pokemon to choose from on Route 2, he only got himself a tiny bird. Since I button mashed my way through the intro and ended up having to watch Leon show me how to catch Pokemon, I noticed that he too uses a Rookidee. So perhaps Hop got inspired by his brother, and that's why he chose to add one of those to his team as well. Unlike Marnie, it's pretty obvious that Hop went bonkers in the wild area, doing a whole bunch of raids since his team grew by about 5 levels each between our rival battle and the double battle against Team Yell. So I did a couple raids myself to get those EXP candies in case I needed them, and then went on my merry way to the first gym. Given Hop's team composition, Milo's gym was an absolute breeze. His Dynamax Eldegoss managed to knock out my Rookidee, but Skiploom had no trouble defluffing that oversized cotton ball. Then I got to the water gym. I had Wooloo in the lead to match Hop's approach to battle, but I quickly noticed that it was struggling to defend itself against the gym trainer's special attacks. I wasn't too worried about it until I got to Nessa and Wooloo couldn't even touch her Goldeen. I was down to just my Skiploom, but I couldn't one-shot the Arrokuda with Max Knuckle, which I didn't mind too much since that meant I have 2 attack boosts instead of just 1. Best for last, ha, Nessa. Well, did you know that my fighting type move is super effective against your rock type move? Phalanx. Okay, maybe I just messed up by having Wooloo use Defense Curl instead of just attacking her Goldeen. Let's try this again. Nope. How about I switch out instead? That didn't work either. At this point I'm way over leveled compared to Hop's in-game team. I wasn't too sure what to do since leading in with Lulu, I cannot say this, leading in with Wooloo meant that I couldn't win the battle. Then I remembered what gym trainer Heather told me.
But you've gotta think about the order too.
She was right. If I, Hop, the greatest trainer of trainers, was to win this gym battle, I should have something that's not Wooloo in the lead, except I failed. Again, and again, and again. If Hop picked Scorbunny as a starter, there's absolutely no way in Distortion World that he could have beaten Nessa. Also, I'm pretty sure Nessa's Dreadnought has a hidden ability since it would suddenly outspeed me every single time it started to rain. Although I guess that means that this run is over. Hop loses in Hulbury and goes back to Turffield to be a Wooloo Wrangler for Milo. Wouldn't that be nice? But unlike Hop, I couldn't just quit, so I kept trying and eventually on my 12th try, I managed to win. The trick was to lead with my over-leveled Corvisquire, knock out her first 2 Pokemon. Then use a Super Potion and tank out Dreadnought's first attack, which was Max Darkness instead of the much stronger water move. After getting taken out by the second G-Max attack, I pulled out a Giant Wooloo to use Giant Protect so that this thing could make it rain. In all my previous battles against Nessa, with the rain's boost to water type moves and Dreadnought's hidden ability giving it a speed boost, Nessa would simply sweep through my team. I just got really lucky this time around. So now we get to see how the rest of Hop's journey goes when the game's writers completely ignore how much he struggled at this gym and just wrote it off as an easy victory. The fire type gym went a lot better. I did record this run before the Marnie video blew up and everyone told me that I actually didn't have to catch any of the Pokemon in this challenge and that they just respawn. So I caught all 3 of them, but I think that's alright because Hop seems like the type of guy who would actually bother to catch all of them. Double was once again pretty useless in this battle. Skiploom had to pick up the pace but couldn't quite defeat the Arcanine. I think G-Max Corvisquire could have handled the rest of the battle just fine, but since I now have PTSD from Nessa, I decided to play it safe and use the fire types I caught earlier to buffer out Arcanine and Kabu's Killiscorch. Get it? Cause centimeters get stretched out to kilometers? No? Okay, well, let's just blow off this bad joke and move on to the next set of gyms. But before that, Beat, am I saying it right? Decided to challenge Hop, and we all know how that turns out. The closest thing I have to understand that battle is the one we did in Galar Region 2, and that battle was pretty evenly matched. The only difference is that I went with an aggressive offensive strategy where Hop tends to go for non-damaging moves a lot more often. After that humiliating defeat, Hop probably realized that his Double and Corvusquire weren't pulling their weight and sent him off to do manual labor, while he tried to fill up his team with something better. I can imagine him hitching a cab over to Turffield to drop off his Mons with Milo, and picking up the little Toxo from the daycare. And he must have been so down in the dumps that the entire wild area decided to rain like it's October 1st, 2020, which, lucky for him, is the only way to get Cramorant this early in the game. Which, by the way, this is my favorite Pokemon from this generation. You'll see why in a minute. I like to imagine that after the Team Yell fight, when Hop runs into the desert to have his existential crisis, the little Silicobra, I don't know how to pronounce its name. Silicobra? The little Silicobra takes pity on him and follows him to join his team. And ta-da! New team is complete! I had a lot of fun using Cramorant as my team's lead while I made my way to Stone's side, which, to be frank, it's been a while since I've genuinely had a fun time with battle mechanics in Pokemon. Getting to either paralyze or do damage to anyone who tries to hurt my Curry Bird was hilarious. I can't speak. Not sure if it was just a silly gimmick or the fact that I imagined Cramorant just pulling out a random Pikachu from underneath the desert, but it was nice while it lasted. I say that because as soon as you make it to Stone's side, Hop decides to just completely revamp his team again. I didn't feel like I got enough action out of his team, and since it was unclear if Hop got the 4th badge or not, I decided to give it a try. I just enjoyed having Cramorant in the lead. Sure, it was weak and got KO'd pretty early on, but at least it got itself freed from its curse by a dead coral reef after chucking a fish at it. Toxo was kind of useless the entire time, and Silicobra didn't get much of an opportunity to shine either. But hey, at least Skiploom pulled out a victory and evolved into Jumpluff at the gym. From there, I assumed Hop gradually started to change his team. After getting the 4th badge, he goes back to Route 6 and catches himself the apex predator of the area, Heatmore. And then he gets lost in the Glimwood Tangle and befriends another lost spirit, Phantom. Since I liked Cramorant and wanted to give Silicobra a chance, I kept him on my team for the 5th gym. And while Cramorant just looked over at Heatmore and said, "Look at me, I'm the apex Pokemon now," the wizard said we lack pink, so let's just spit a Pikachu at her cake. Driven by his motivation to acquire more strong Pokemon, Hop likely went back to the wild area after getting the 5th gym badge to catch the iconic Snorlax blocking the bridge. And I assumed that after being lost in the woods, he figured he'd get a good guide Pokemon with him. What would make a better guide than a Yamper? After all, even Leon talked about how that cute Corgi helped him throughout his journey. Sadly, that means we had to let Cramorant go from my team. Bye bye birdie, I'll never forget you. Alright, this time the team is pretty solid, except Hop once again decides to change At least this time he admits that he lost, which he didn't even bring up with Nessa. Since I went through the trouble of getting this entire team together, I figured I'd go in and see if he actually struggled with the Sir Chester gym. I didn't bother healing my team between battles either. Snorlax got me super confused since it just kept shaking its head and refusing to use a steel type move on the Lapras. In hindsight, I realized it's probably because it was G-maxed, but in the heat of battle and super fast text, I thought it wasn't listening to me since I didn't have the badge yet. Guess what? I still won the battle. Gotta give this game a 7 out of 10. It lies to us. First Marnie acting all smug after the fairy type gym, and now Hop pretending he lost a battle he should have won with ease. Anyways, I made the final team change, bringing back Sheep and Bird. No, not Cramorant, the other one, because why keep the best Pokemon he ever caught? Pierce loses, and Rayan gives me some major Nessa flashbacks. I had to rely on luck and Pinurchin, who somehow pulled through, avoiding death multiple times and shocking Duraldon with a clutch victory. And again, the game's dialogue is like, "Oh yeah, Hop did very well." No, he didn't. He got so lucky he might as well have won a Master Ball from the Roto Lotto. You know what comes next, right? Marnie time. If we didn't exist, I assume Marnie would have won her fight and faced off against Hop, so let's see how their fight would have gone. This also means it's time for Double to finally shine. With a fighting type move that relies on her HP being low, Cotton Guard, and all of Marnie's Pokemon being physical attackers, Double was able to ram through all of her team. Yes, even the mighty Olanga didn't stand a chance, but that's a fake one. We're gonna pretend like the Macrocosmos stuff didn't happen, and after the entire journey is when Hop would have ran into Beat again. The first time facing the trainer who knocked Hop off his high horse and made him rethink his entire life's purpose. I didn't have my hopes too high for Double, but it was strong enough to tank out Mawile and do some damage to Gardevoir. But unlike before, BD now uses fire types. No, he doesn't. BD now uses fairy types, and we caught Corviknight, which gained the steel type in its final evolution. Meaning, this time, Hop gets to knock BD off his high horse. And with more than half my team remaining to face off his Hatterene, I knew we had this victory in the bag. Nessa was no longer scary since half her team is now physical attackers. Double was able to pick them off and I ended up beating her without having to Dynamax. Oh, how times change. Alistair put me in a pinch at the start of the match since Double couldn't do much against Dusknoir and it used Disable on the one move that could actually hit it, but I managed to beat him by the fluff of my Jumpluff. Ryan just wasn't as scary as single battles, meaning it was time to see that Leon still doesn't know how to catch Pokemon. Using a Pokeball and a Legendary, really man, I used the Level Ball instead because it's got a nice V on it for Vasco. Alright, now the moment we've all been waiting for, brother versus brother, the undefeatable Leon versus the very defeatable Hop. I also forgot to take out Eternus from my team. Bonus Pokemon? Should be an easy win, right? Wrong. Aegislash uses Sacred Sword and just cuts Double out of the equation right away. Snorlax barely tanks the hit and managed to parry Leon's sword. Next up is Haxorus, who we don't have a counter for. I land a scary face in hopes of at least being able to hit it. I got kinda close and of course Leon is gonna use his healing item at the worst possible time. I G-Max my Jumpluff and use the Max Airstream of hopes that I'll be able to outspeed the rest of his team, except I kinda forgot about the Inteleon. Whoops. It didn't feel right to just use Eternatus, and I decided to just throw the rest of the battle once Jumpluff went down. After all, Hop doesn't seem to get the chance to catch that Pokemon in the main game, and something tells me he wouldn't have used it against Leon, just to make sure the battle is fair and square. Without Eternatus, Hop's team didn't stand a chance. But then it hit me. I was using Hop's team from the semifinals. What if instead I use Hop's teams from the post-game? I didn't even second guess this decision since that meant I could have Cramorant back on my team. It also meant that my team could be a bit higher level and have a slightly different moveset, so I tried it again, and failed. And again, and failed. This is Nessa all over again. In truth, Hop's team lacks a good counter to Leon's Aegislash, Haxorus, and Dragapult. So could Hop beat Leon and become champion? Sadly, the answer is no. No wonder this game calls him unbeatable. It seems like two of our main rivals couldn't stand a chance at winning against him. Well, unless they were super smart and, you know, lead off the battle with Cramorant using Dive to tango with Leon's Aegislash. The strategy seems familiar, doesn't it? Throw a Pikachu at the dragon that wouldn't think twice about throwing its babies at you to paralyze it. Forget about slowing down that Haxorus and just go for an all-out Brave Bird attack, hoping that it hits itself in confusion at least once. Using Jumpluff to melt away the Snow Clown. And let Double come in to take down the Crying Lizard. Charizard might be fast, big, and scary, but we haven't used our healing item yet, meaning that even though Double can't hurt it, it's able to slow it down so that it's no longer Gigantamaxed. Finally, pull out your giant Pincurchin and one-shot Leon's Charizard with a Max Lightning attack. And that is how Hop could become champion. Would in-game Hop do that though? No, no he wouldn't. Instead, he would lose to the Clown Brothers in the post-game simply out of convenience, tame a rampaging legendary, kick out Cramorant from his team a second time, why Hop? And decide to become a professor instead, because you know the only way you could become a champion is if he gave Cramorant some love. But no, can we give Cramorant some love, guys? I hope you all enjoyed seeing Galar through Hop's eyes. If you enjoyed this and would like to see me do another one with a different trainer, let me know in the comments below. There's been quite a lot of requests for both Leon and BD from the Marnie video, so I might do one of those two next, but I'm more than happy to try out other trainers too. So don't be shy, comment away. Hashtag Team Cramorant. 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 The best bird Pokemon is Cramorant. He eats Arrokuda. He eats Pikachu. And if you try to punch him, he spits it back at you. That is all.